welcome to Life Tree Astrology, and I'm really happy. I'm just scraping in to get another video in before tomorrow, and I hope you've all been well. It's been, for me, a reasonably sort of steady and satisfying time. I feel like I've managed to get quite a bit done, which satisfies my Virgo sun. So I hope you've all been well too. Today we're going to talk about the Capricorn full moon, and that's coming up. Well, for me here in Perth, Australia, the most isolated city in the world, or so I've been told. It's going to be tomorrow, so very early in the morning, and but we are ahead than a lot of other places. Let me share my screen and I'll go through some of the main points, and then I'm going to go through the 12 signs, and I'll try not to take too long for each one. Again, I say that, but I have a tendency to go on a bit. So let me share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Got my notes here, so hopefully I won't forget anything. So the moon is in Capricorn, and you can see here that we've got the moon up here. Again, ignore the houses, so I shouldn't have said up here. That's just confusing for you, but I will go through the houses, the signs in a moment. So the moon is in Capricorn, and we say, the full moon is when the reflected light of the sun is at a peak or a culmination on the face of the moon. The moon and the sun are at opposite sides of the zodiac. So the moon here in Capricorn, and the opposite of that axis is Cancer. So we have the moon in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer. Interestingly, the sun is in the moon sign. Okay. So the natural domain or home of the moon is Cancer, but the moon is far away. She is said to be in her exile, or we say in her detriment in traditional astrology, because she's as far away from home as she could possibly be. And the reason that she's considered in her exile is that the moon likes to bring forth her expressions of nurturing and softness and emotional security. And in Capricorn, which is where she's not in Capricorn, she's in Saturn sign. So Saturn's sign of Capricorn is all about material security, and being a sign of Saturn, it's about stoicism and a lot of the time not showing your vulnerability. It's about showing your love in more practical terms. So in that sense, the moon has to work harder to bring about her significations. But if you have a moon in Capricorn, it does not mean that it's all pear-shaped, obviously. It just means that, people that have moon in Capricorn tend to have a great deal of strength and perseverance and practicality, and they've really worked on developing those skills. So the moon, as I said, is moving through Capricorn, and what was I going to say? So she's far away from her familiar home. And interestingly, her ruler, which is Capricorn, Saturn, is sitting over here in Aries. And that is interesting because the moon is looking at the ruler of her sign by square, which means there is a little bit of tension here with that your house that in your house that Saturn is sitting in, because the moon is looking for emotional security, nurturance, protection, and she's looking over here to Saturn the ruler. And it's good that she has an aspect to him, but Saturn himself is in his fall, is what we say, because he's sitting here in Aries. And that is because Saturn is exalted in Libra over here. We're on the opposite side. And so he's in his fall in Aries. And again, that is because Saturn is the ruler. He rules, patience and perseverance and maturity and planning and caution, and, in a lot of senses, authority as well. And this is Mars's sign, Aries, and Mars wants action. He wants to assert his independence. He's fiery, he's masculine, he wants action now. He doesn't like being told what to do. He's impulsive. And so in that sense, we say that Saturn struggles in that kind of environment. And again, has to work really hard to assert his expression. And it's not all bad. It just means that when we have a square between two signs, and we actually said that the moon has the upper hand because the moon is in a higher order or earlier order than Saturn is here. So the moon has an advantage in the sense that she's able to assert more dominance over Saturn in this alignment in traditional astrology. So the moon is basically looking at Saturn saying, hey, what are you doing over there? I need some support. I need some authority. I need some structure over here. And we say that when there is an angle of friction, that is the square, that something needs to shift. It means that we need to take action somehow. And I'll go through that when I go through the horoscopes. I'm just going to sneeze. Okay. Excuse me. So there's two sneezes. So that means that you need to make some adjustments and some shifts, and I'll go through that in the horoscopes in a moment. The other thing, coming back to that full moon in Capricorn and any full moon, is that the full moon is when the sun is at the opposite side on the other side of the earth. And you can see here that the sun, as I mentioned in the beginning, the sun is sitting in Cancer. And so that means that the sun is really putting a focus on this Cancer house, whatever that is for you. And in the sign of Cancer, that is shining a light on familial ties, loyalty, ancestry, your family. It's about, again, nurturance, emotional security. It's about protection as well. It's about, looking after loved ones, the people that you call your tribe. So the moon is shining a light on that. And interestingly, the sun, and the sun is not alone. The sun is traveling here with Mercury. You can see that Mercury has just hit its stationing point. So I believe that happened a day before. So that was on the 28th, on the 30th. And so Mercury is going retrograde, and what that means is that Mercury is seeming to move backwards in the sky. He's not actually moving backwards through the sky, but from the point of the view of the Earth, it looks like he's moving backwards. And this is said to be when Mercury is moving into the underworld or moving into his psychopomp phase. When he is going backwards through the sky, it is said that we are going inwards in terms of reviewing and processing what has transpired. It's about processing. And then, once Mercury goes direct again in a few weeks, it means that we will be better able to make decisions, move forwards once again. But a lot of the times people find this a bit of a frustrating time when Mercury is retrograde, because there is that sense of not having that forward momentum. And in that sense, unless there is something that you have to deal with, you have to sign, you have to purchase, you have to do, then by all means do it. Just make sure that you are double checking, triple checking amounts, documentation, all those sort of things. But really, it's a really great time just to sit back and relax and take that time to process rather than trying to fly head on forwards. So we have Mercury here, and Mercury in that water sign, in all water signs, but particularly in the waters of Cancer is very much more an intuitive Cancer. It's a much more emotional and empathetic Cancer. Mercury as well. So, you know, using emotions, intuition, and instinct a lot more than logic and that cognitive side of Mercury. And then we have Jupiter as well. So Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and it's quite an amazing moment. Cancer is literally at the very, very end of the sign of Cancer. It's sitting in what we call the anaretic degree, which is said to be a culmination. It's a very strong point within any sign that brings an intensity. Okay. And, Jupiter has been here since, I think it's June. Well, it's definitely June, but I can't remember exactly when, but June of last year. And so it's spent just over a year in our Cancer houses. And so Jupiter is really sending his very last blessings for us in Cancer, and where he is particularly benefic, particularly fortunate. And because the next day he is moving into Leo, where he'll stay almost for 13 months. So in that sense, the sun has a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling, and a lot of beneficence as well with Jupiter here. And Jupiter is within the last few bounds of Saturn, so there could be a few last minute lessons as well that he's going to impart to us. So what we say is at a full moon that we have this actual push-pull, and opposition basically between what the moon is bringing to our awareness and also the sun. So there's you'll find that whatever houses your Capricorn and your Cancer is in, that there'll be an oppositional tension between those. And so when the moon is culminating in that light, it's the peak that happens two weeks after the new moon. There'll be that sense of, it can often be a little bit more emotional. It suddenly, you can see emotional truths clearly. Things that were perhaps a little bit hidden now come to light. And it's the culmination. So if you think about it, it's a bit like the seeds were sown at the new moon. Whatever you seeded has now grown and flowered and reached its potential. And you can really see what the harvest is, I guess, from those seeds. So whatever the initiations that you that were made at the January 19 new moon of this year, you can go back and check my posts for the full report on that. But whatever has seeded since then, since the Capricorn new moon, has now blossomed. And you can see, what has manifested. And you keep the parts that, that have manifested beautifully for you, that are helpful, that are useful, and perhaps some of the things that didn't quite work out, you will compost them and use them for the next cycle. Okay, so that is the full moon. What else is going on? I wanted to mention, this is a big one. So you can see down here that we've got Mars has just slipped into Gemini. And this is really big because, Gemini was in his detriment in Taurus here, but now he's slipped into Gemini, and you can see that he's just within the 3-degree range of conjoining Uranus. And that means that on the 4th of July, Mars and Uranus are going to meet in a conjunction. And this is a big deal. You've got Uranus, who is the planet of radical awakening, disruptions, breakthroughs, rebellion, authenticity, sudden disruptions, meeting Mars. Mars is he's the god of war, but he is assertion, he is aggression, he is that real passionate desire part. He is impulse and action. So when these two meet, sparks can fly, basically. And I guess on the good side, we can say, because it's in a very intellectual, communicative, cognitive sign like Gemini. So Gemini represents, it's a sign of communication, of words, of speaking, of, writing, of media, propaganda, all of those things. So here, those two meeting can represent, I guess in our personal lives, it can be sudden epiphanies, amazing breakthroughs. That's on the more positive side. Uranus is completely unpredictable anyway, and you add you add Mars to it, and you have very disruptive, erratic events that can happen. With Mars, it can often involve, things breaking or shattering, or, so one of the things you do need to be careful of is just, accidents, not to scare you or anything. This happens every 2 years. It's just, if you don't need to be up on a rickety ladder trying to balance around the 4th of July, don't do it. If you're trying to cut something and you're handshaking and don't do that either. So, but, at the same time, it can be really brilliant for that real, having a great deal of energy to your thoughts, to your mind, to your thinking, and you might come up with something brilliant or have some amazing downloads, all of those things as well. So that is Mars and Uranus. And also, there could be a little bit more emotionality to it, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is sitting in, the Cancer next door here, and basically Mercury and Cancer is a little bit more emotional than usual, So when we're looking at this Mars and Uranus, there's a slightly more emotive quality to it, and perhaps a little bit protective as well. Okay, so that is Mars and Uranus. So they meet exactly on the 4th of July, but you will really feel it pretty much from, when the new moon, or even just, a day before this full moon culminates. Okay, so just coming back to Mercury retrogrades. So basically Mercury retrogrades here on in Cancer, and so yeah, Mercury retrogrades, and you can see that he started stationing here. He's going to go back through Cancer, and he's going to be reviewing, as I mentioned earlier. And I think I've already talked about this, so I'm just going to, I'm sure I have, so I'm just going to stop it. I'll check at the end if I haven't. And yeah, I did. Sorry, I did. That's all right. I'll cut that out. Okay, and Jupiter moves into Leo. Okay, so that is a really big one. I'm really excited because I am a Leo. So just to backtrack slightly, we have had Jupiter here has been moving through Cancer for some time, as I mentioned, and he'll be moving into Leo. And so this is a beautiful change. Jupiter in Leo is really going to bring an expansion to those Leo qualities of, heart-centeredness, creativity, leadership, sort of creativeness. It can be dramaticness as well, integrity, courage, leadership, which I mentioned. So this is really beautiful, because Leo is it brings the light basically in the zodiac. So Leo's, whether you're a Leo sun or if you're a Leo ascendant, they embody that aspect of the sun, that centrality that warms people, that people are attracted to, that brings that vitality. And so, everybody has a Leo house. And so this is really beautiful. Wherever your Leo house, which I'll go through in the horoscopes, you'll find that, you know, Jupiter brings an expansion. It brings, it will bring growth, really. I think growth in confidence in yourself and knowing yourself better. And Jupiter also attracts mentors to you. And Jupiter has that idea of expanding your horizons, wanting to expand your consciousness, learn new things. Jupiter can be associated not only with teachers, but foreign things as well. So, you know, basically coming back to new horizons. So that is very exciting, and Jupiter will be in there for just under 13 months. So that is very exciting as well. I always like to have a look at where the moon falls in terms of the decans, and I like to have a look at the associated tarot that goes with it. So this moon falls into the first decan of Capricorn. For those of you who are not familiar, the decans are 10, you know, each sign is 30 degrees, and or 29.99. Anyway, so that you have 10 degrees for each of the decans, and first decan, second decan, third decan. So it falls within the first 10 degrees of Capricorn. And so it is in Capricorn decan 1, and this is connected to the Two of Pentacles. So the Two of Pentacles is called the Lord of Change. And interesting, as I was looking into it, it contains the solstices within the Two of Pentacles. And so that, you know, the solstices, and I looked that up as well, Sol, which means sun in Latin, and interestingly Swedish as well, which is where half of me is from. So Sol and stand still, that's the other second part. The second part is standing still. So it's when the sun stands still. And it's really when we're looking at when that balance of lightness and darkness happens during the year. So interestingly, this one here, I mean, Capricorn traditionally is in, you know, a lot of the astrology is based on the northern seasons. And we keep those symbolisms generally, even if we're somebody like me who lives in the southern hemisphere. So when we're talking about the Capricorn time of the year, from a northern hemisphere perspective, this is the winter solstice, when that point where, you know, the lightness and darkness are equal for the winter solstice, and then the dark takes over, meaning that the days have more darkness and there's less light from that point onwards. And it's really interesting, though, for me here in Perth, Australia, the recent solstice that we had actually is our is our winter solstice, because it's back to front. So so when we're looking at this, you know, the sun currently actually is in Cancer. So you know, for the summer, for the northern hemisphere, it's actually the summer solstice. Here in Australia, with the sun in Cancer, it is our winter solstice. Hope that wasn't too confusing. Yes, so currently now with the sun in Cancer, this is when the sun reaches its northernmost declination, which happened just recently on the 21st of June. So I love that idea about, you know, the idea of crossing thresholds, about shifts. It's very beautiful. And so I have been rattling on long enough. I'm going to move into the horoscopes. And currently I am already on Aries. So I am just going to get straight into it. Let me have a look here. Just move this around a bit. Okay. All right. So Aries. Let me have a look here. So Aries, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. And so what you're looking at here is that there is going to be a spotlight, a culmination in issues, events, or aspects of your public life, your career, your public actions, your professional life, basically. And so something comes to culmination, something becomes clear to you. When I say culmination, it could be positive, negative, neutral, but something reaches its zenith. And across the actual oppositional axis here, you'll find that the sun is sitting in your Cancer 4th house, which means there's also a focus on your private life, your parents, your home, your family, your sense of privacy, protection, and nurturing, your emotional security. You have Mercury moving through here as well. So that's bringing, making your communication a lot more intuitive, a lot more emotional at the moment. I guess the downside can be that it can be a little bit protective as well, or defensive. And you've got Jupiter here just about to leave your 4th house in the next day, really still showering you with some blessings and fortunate expansion and support towards the emotional growth that you have experienced in, just over a year as well. So you might find that there's a bit of a push and pull here between your public self, your career, and what's going on at home, family, parents, or the actual physical house itself that you're living in, or the home that you're in. So that's the main oppositional tension there. The moon here is square to Saturn in your 1st house. So you've got Saturn in your 1st house. Saturn, Saturn going through your 1st house is really about putting the brakes on a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm just speaking about Saturn on its own here. It's about maturity. It's about developing perseverance. It's like holding your independence and your goals and your drive, but at the same time tempering it with a sense of maturity and patience, and being able to withstand delays, hard knocks, roadblocks, delays, all of those things that Mars, who rules Aries, he doesn't really like that. Yeah. And so really the moon here in an aspect of tension or friction to that 1st house. So there may be that the needs, or what you come to realize about your professional life or your job, is putting some pressure or demands on you, who you are, your identity, perhaps your health. And so you may need to take some action, or just shift something to ease that tension. And the Mercury, coming back to Mercury, you can see has stationed. So really, in that sense of home, family and parents, there's going to be a bit of a time of revision. And again, we say that Mercury is going inwards when he is retrograding. So this is probably not the time to start something new, or start some sort of new action or project at home. This will be the time that you want to sort of sit back and think and ponder things. And then by the time that Mercury goes direct again, then you'll have a better idea of how to move forwards. And Saturn and Mercury, I'm getting my planets mixed up. And we've got Mars and Uranus here. So Mars and Uranus here coming together in your 3rd house. So, this is in the sign of the twins. This is your cognitive house. The 3rd house is what we call the house of community and communication and short trips. It's your siblings. So you'll probably find that you've got some quite frenetic energy happening, a bit of chaotic energy happening here with Uranus in that 3rd house. There might have been a sense of rebellion, or trying to assert your independence, pushing against authority, or anything that's sort of been trying to hold you down or limit you. It could be sudden sudden events or disruptions. And so really when Mars moves in here as well, into Gemini to conjoin Uranus, you might find that there could be some real sudden events in your local environment. It could also be your mind, because the third house represents your thoughts, your thought patterns, learning as well, media projects. So there could just be some really unexpected events, hopefully not too destructive with Mars involved, perhaps a little bit shocking. And because the third house also rules short trips and your local community, just be extra careful in terms of when you're traveling, when you're driving, crossing the road. I mean, we should always be careful, right? But, just don't take any extra risks or thrill seeking, because that Uranus Mars energy can really have you a little bit thrill seeking, if you know what I mean, a bit impulsive, a bit reckless. So this is a good time not to be reckless. Okay, Aries, I think that is it. I look forward to speaking to you at the next video. Thank you. Okay. Hello, Taurus. So, Taurus, this full moon is happening in your Capricorn 9th house. So, this is your house of God, faith, religion, higher learning, philosophy, long distance travel, foreign cultures. And so, this new moon, full moon, is really shining a light on what you've achieved. You probably put some intentions down 6 months ago at the Capricorn new moon, and now this full moon is showing you what has manifested. And it can bring emotional truth to your consciousness. It could be a culmination, a climax to some event, a project, your degree. It could be, the culmination of a long trip that you've been on. So, yeah. So that is the moon in Capricorn. And, let's not forget that Capricorn is really about building material security, legacy, goals, perseverance. So the moon is really showing you what you've achieved in that sphere of your life. And then in opposition, you've got the sun here. The sun always brings vitality, energy, and a focus to the sign and house that it's moving through. So it's moving through your Cancer 3rd house. And so there's a real emphasis for you at the moment on siblings, neighbors, your local community groups. It's, community. It's about communication as well. It's about patterns of your mind. It's about conversations. It can be a media project, a podcast, all of those things. So there's a real focus here. You can see that Mercury has stationed retrograde. So Mercury will be going, is stationed. So there's a real emphasis to Mercury. He's going backwards now. So to our, to what it looks like for us. And in Cancer, he's basically reprocessing what has been happening in that 3rd house. And so when Mercury is retrograde, it's really about going inwards into yourself and inwardly reprocessing, reviewing, reflecting on things. Oftentimes you have to redo things as well. So it's a good time, if possible, not to push yourself to take any action or do anything new. It's a good time to sit back and reflect and wait till Mercury goes direct again. And you can see here Jupiter as well. So Jupiter is here with the Sun and Mercury. Jupiter is in his exaltation here in Cancer. So he's very benefic, especially fortunate. He's about to leave though. So he's been here since June of 2025. Really helping you to expand your sense of community, how you communicate. He could have been perhaps particularly fortunate for healing in terms of your relationship with neighbors, but especially with siblings. And Jupiter is all about growth and expanding your consciousness in a lot of ways. He might have brought teachers to you as well, new knowledge. So, and he's about to leave tomorrow. Tomorrow after this new full moon. So what you have here is an opposition between the moon in that space of higher learning, faith, foreign travel. So really it's like that. The ninth house here, the house of God, is the higher mind, the unknown, the outer limits, the distant horizons. The third house is really about what you know, your local mind, your culture, what's happening around you. And so you'll find that there's an oppositional tension, a push and pull between these two areas of your life at the moment. And the moon is up here, sorry. Sorry, it's getting late. The moon is in an aspect, this is a 90-degree angle to Saturn. Saturn is sitting in your 12th house. And so there's a slight friction. The moon is looking to Saturn from that 9th house of philosophy, belief, foreign travels, learning, higher learning, and really looking at Saturn and asking for perhaps some authority, some structure, some guidance. And so Saturn certainly can do that, but Saturn is in his fall here in Aries, and he is sitting in your 12th house. Interestingly, Saturn is said to be in his joy in the 12th house because he represents he's the gatekeeper of the known and the unknown. So the boundaries between the conscious and the unconscious, the known of the universe and what lies beyond. And in that 12th house, this is where you keep your thoughts. Really, it's a parts of your psyche that often remain unconscious. We say it's the house of self-undoing. It can be memories, karmic memories, sorrows, sometimes self-defeating patterns in that 12th house. And so the moon is really shining a light on Saturn and saying, I guess asking Saturn to find some boundaries and to really develop some growth and strength within those 12th house areas. So it's a good time to do some self-awareness activities, some spiritual work, meditation, awareness, anything, taking time out in nature, anything that really brings that mindfulness together, makes you more mindful, basically. Okay. So the other thing that we're looking at here is Mars and Uranus sitting in your Gemini second house. So the second house is your house of livelihood, your material resources, it's your income. And so in Gemini, that job, your work often involves more cognitive work, intellectual work, information, certainly. And so you've got Mars coming into Gemini, he's meeting Uranus, and what you're finding is that that sort of electrified energy of Uranus is meeting the impulse, the action, the assertion, sometimes aggression. It can be cutting, conflict as well. It can be, not always, but and so that energy, really expect around the 4th of July that there could be some really unexpected events in your livelihood or your, in that area of material resources. It doesn't always have to be negative, but it often is very surprising, sometimes shocking. So that could be in that area of your second house of work and self-worth. Again, just be aware and cautious. And this passes after the 4th of July. It's not a very long transit, perhaps, 5 or 6 days. But it perfects on the 4th of July. And lastly, just to mention, you have that beautiful Jupiter is moving into your fourth house. So I think so on the next day, Jupiter moves into your fourth house, and it will be staying there for almost 13 months, and that's really beautiful. So Jupiter will be bringing blessings into your Leo fourth house. He will be joining Venus, who's already in there for a little bit before she moves out. And this is really fortunate. So look for heartfelt warmth, the generous times with friends, family, and home. With Jupiter in there, there'll be a sense of growth, emotional growth, connection, and expansion within that home and family realm. So some really beautiful times to look forwards to. Okay, Taurus, that's it. Thank you. I look forward to talking to you next time. Hello, Gemini. Okay. So, Gemini, this full moon happens in your Capricorn eighth house. And so this is really bringing to culmination aspects of um, shared resources, of karmic entanglements. The eighth house is death, transformation, inheritance, the occult. The reason we say that is because you can see here from the first house, this eighth house is not actually, it's in what we call aversion, in that sense that the first house doesn't have a direct aspect to the eighth house. So it has this shadowy quality to it that often things that we're not totally conscious of or can't see very easily. And so this full moon here could bring new information to light. It can bring certain structures to light, some project or plan, shared resources or finance that you have. Something comes to culmination, basically. And across the sky here in Cancer, you've got the sun in Cancer in your second house of income, material resources, your livelihood, your self-worth, we say. So the sun is really bringing focus and vitality to this part of your chart. He's traveling with Mercury. Mercury has just stationed, and Mercury is about to turn retrograde. So Mercury is really going inwards for an introspective time within your Cancer second house. This is a time for reviewing, reassessing, reprocessing. And there is that sense sometimes when Mercury is retrograding that, you have a sense that there's not much forward momentum, but it's really something not to fight. It is a really good time just to be a bit more laid back. And what you'll find is by the time Mercury is stationing and going forwards again, you will have had time to review things and to process things and to go forwards with some new perspectives, basically. Mercury and the sun are also sitting here with Jupiter. Jupiter is just about to leave Cancer after having been in there for almost 13 months. Jupiter brings his last blessings for expansion, wisdom, nurturing support to that second house. Jupiter will have brought some helpful people to you as well, some teachers, and really brought you growth ultimately. Also, you have, well, Uranus was in there first. Uranus moved into your first house, Gemini. You probably noticed when Uranus moved in there. Uranus is the planet of electricity, of breakthroughs, of rebellion, authenticity, kind of radical authenticity. It's the planet of non-conformance as well, and really definitely the planet of completely unexpected events. And so he is meeting Mars. Mars has just come into your first house, which is going to give you a lot of energy. You've already got Uranus in there. Uranus has that sense of that more sort of nervous energy. And then add Mars in there. Don't drink too much coffee. Don't drink too much coffee, Gemini. Uh, and no Red Bulls. And so Mars brings that assertion, the energy, the impulse. He can bring aggression. He can bring cutting. Unfortunately, he's the planet of separation and injury as well. So just absolute extra caution at the moment. Gemini, not to make you fearful or in any way, but it is in your first house of body and self. So just be mindful as you make your way through the world in the next week and a half, in the sense of, as I said earlier in the introduction, if you don't need to, don't run across the road without looking. Don't, climb up on the roof on a windy day. Just don't take extra chances, basically. Drive carefully, put your seatbelt on, all of those things. Don't speed. Yeah. But ultimately, in your first house here, you could really find that there are some radical new awakenings, some really amazing epiphanies. You're certainly going to have a lot of energy. You could have some real radical innovation, innovatory ideas. Yeah. So, yeah, just watch out for that and enjoy it as well. And lastly, yeah, I did mention that, but Jupiter, coming back to Jupiter, Jupiter is moving into Leo. So he's moving in to your third house, your Leo third house, for the next almost 13 months. He'll be with Venus for a short while as well. So this is really about an expansion of your thinking, your mind, how you communicate. Gemini, you're already a communicator, but Jupiter really is seeking higher wisdom, expansion, new horizons. He'll bring teachers to you as well, people that are helpful to you, and that you're helpful to them in turn. You'll probably find that you'll get to know lots more people in your local area, neighbors, community. You may be involved in some projects or some meetup groups. You might find, if you've got siblings, that you have a particularly strengthening or deepening of your relationships, or if you've been having difficulty with siblings, this could be really a time to heal and to repair some of that. Yeah, so just a really heartfelt time. So I hope you enjoy that, Gemini, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Cancer. So Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 7th house. So your ruler, Cancer, is sitting in the 7th house. And so this is really shining a spotlight, putting a focus on the other in your life. One-on-one relationships. If you're in a partnership, if you're partnered up, you have, a significant other, this will really be, putting focus on them, your relationship to them, your relationship in general. In the moon in Capricorn is interesting because the moon is at home in Cancer, your home sign, your first house. If you're rising, and the moon, she's on the other side. She's in Capricorn, which is the other end of that polar axis. And, Cancer is all about emotions and feelings, so emotional security, emotional nurturance. It's about instinct, vulnerability. And Capricorn is different because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is cold. Well, when I say cold, I don't mean they don't have feelings. I just mean cold as in, logical. Not always, but Capricorn sometimes keep their emotions a little bit under the surface, not on their sleeve. And for a Capricorn, it's really about that stoicism, working hard, making achieving your goals, securing, achieving security through material security is particularly important to a Capricorn. And so for the moon's in there, and she's said to be in her detriment because it's not her natural environment. But so it's interesting because, you with your ruler there sitting in the 7th house, it's really talking about, finding that emotional security in your partner. So it's really shining a light on your relationship. And interestingly, because the sun is sitting in your 1st house, this is really bringing that sense of focus and vitality to you personally. You're probably feeling a greater sense of energy at the moment. You've got Mercury moving through there as well in your 1st house. He's just stationed and he's about to go retrograde. So Mercury in Cancer, there's probably been a sense of your communication being a little bit more emotional than usual. And now with Mercury going retrograde, there's that sense of retracing your steps, reviewing, reassessing, reprocessing things while Mercury is going retrograde. And you've had beautiful Jupiter moving through there too for, almost 13 months, bringing blessings and support and nurturance and expansion and wisdom to you, Cancer. So it's probably been a big year for you. And so what you'll find just during this time, there is a bit of a sense of you versus your partner, in that sense of the energy, the push and pull. So that focus on you and what you need and your needs versus obligations that you have within your relationship as well. So there could be a bit of push and pull, oppositional tension there. The ruler of the moon is Saturn. Saturn is, the moon is in a square alignment to Saturn by aspect. So that is an aspect of some friction. Saturn is sitting here in your 10th house, which is very interesting. Saturn in Aries is said to be in his fall. Aries is a sign of independence and action and impulse. And Saturn is about maturity and patience and waiting and, hard lessons and caution. So that's probably really quite interesting. The moon is looking to Saturn for some structure, some support, some authority. And Saturn may or may not be able to provide this at that time, but you're probably finding at work that you might have had some lessons around asserting your own authority, perhaps your own leadership, or perhaps a sense of having challenges with other authority figures in your public life as well, could be. So you really probably had to develop a sense of perseverance, having to learn to deal with delays or roadblocks, and learning to perhaps a bit more to be in it for the long game, So that is between the moon and Saturn there, and there might be a shift that you need to make at work, or some new attitude that you need to, an attitude that you need to shift, or to see something from another viewpoint, perhaps to shift that tension. So that's between the moon, your relationship, and your career and your public actions. In your 12th house, Gemini, you've got Mars and you've got Uranus. They're meeting here on the 4th of July in your 12th house. This is be interesting to how you've been going with Uranus alone being there in your 12th house. 12th house is your unconscious. It's the parts of ourselves that we're often not very aware of, the parts of our psyche that can be ancestral memories, ancestral karma. It can be a self-undoing behaviors, kind of patterns that we're in. It can be sorrow, it can be isolation as well. Obviously, sometimes retreating and being alone can be very helpful as well. But with Uranus in there, Uranus in the 12th house can often be, I find, sort of divine downloads or messages from that spirit world. A couple of times I have noticed with clients that there is people that get messages, basically. Now that could be messages through thoughts, through dreams, images, all of those things. And with Uranus in there as well, that could be sudden shifts. There could also be, maybe you have some trouble sleeping, perhaps. You could be a little bit wired. And so Mars moves in there as well. So that really raises the dynamic as well. So this could be perhaps some anger coming up as well, some repressed anger that you might need to suddenly deal with. So to find some really healthy ways to let that out, whether that's through counseling or physical exercise or mindfulness, some sort of spiritual practice as well. And then lastly, to finish off, you have Jupiter, which is, or where is he gone? I'm getting tired. Aries. So Jupiter, so he's been in your first house for about 30 months. He's now moving into your second house. He's really going to expand your livelihood, your income, your material, your possessions, your material security. So this is fabulous for starting new businesses, bringing helpful people into your orbit who support you or help you or teach you something. In Leo, especially with Jupiter there, it really has that feeling of an income that's based on real creativity, integrity, something really heartfelt, something that really puts you in the spotlight. And also Jupiter will be joining Venus in there for a while as well. So really wonderful, Cancer. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Thank you. Leo, hello. I'm one of you. So Leo, this full moon is happening in our sixth house. So it's all about, the full moon is all about our work ethic, our day-to-day discipline. It's about our health routines. It's getting up and really sort of getting yourself in a good routine that supports your life, to keep it organized, to keep it running smoothly, and having that discipline towards your obligations and routine, even when, things are not always fun. Sixth house is, as my teacher Adam Allen Bass always says, it's chop wood, carry water house. And it certainly is. It's the chores, it's the bills, it's the life admin, it's, all the things that we have to do. And so this full moon really is taking you back to the 19th of January. We had that beautiful, I think really quite auspicious new moon that happened. The Capricorn new moon, I remember Mars and Venus had just had that triple conjunction with the sun. So they were newly reset, Kazemi'd. And then the moon seated with, it was Mars and Mercury. And then all those planets one by one basically moved into Pluto and were kind of like forged through Pluto as they went past him in Aquarius. So it was quite an auspicious new moon, and it was a really wonderful time to set new intentions, to set a new course, or to make new resolutions about goals that a new vision, a new or perhaps an altered vision or desire for something you really wanted to achieve. And so really this full moon is going, okay, let's have an audit. What these are the fruits of what you've been doing in the last 6 months. What's worked out, what hasn't. It brings sort of emotional truths, realizations, culminations in events, and the fruits, basically. So this is like the seeds have germinated, they've grown up, and you can see the fruit, you know. So that is in our sixth house. So sixth house is day-to-day routines. It's our physical health as well. It's been, for me, it's been a really challenging year. I've been in a sixth house perfection year, which means it's kind of been the focus of this birthday year for me. And I've probably had a lot more sort of niggly health things than I've ever had before. So, and really with health, as we all know, a lot of the time it's tied to our emotional health as well as our, you know, our daily, you know, our daily habits of what we're eating, how we're treating our body, you know, are we getting enough movement, exercise, stretching, all of those things. So, yeah, so daily routines, health, it can be ill health, it can be injury as well. And the sixth house is also service and work as well. So the daily work that you do, it could be the work at home, it could either be your work that you do for your job. Yeah, so that's your sixth house. So things are coming to light in your sixth house, and across the other side is you know, our 12th house. Our 12th house is in Cancer. 12th house is the unconscious part of our psyche, the parts that, you know, long held memories from when we were young, can be ancestral memories, it can be past life memories, it can be sorrows, anxieties, self-limiting beliefs that we're not even aware of sometimes that can operate, you know, unconsciously. It can be bad habits that we have, you know. And so the sun is really shining a light on that. This is a time to be mindful, to take those long walks, or, you know, whatever it is that you do. For me, it's long walks with my beautiful dog or by myself down by the river. For some people, that could be, you know, a long hot bath. It could be going to the gym and working out, or it could be yoga or Pilates, whatever it is that you do, to bring mindfulness and to just to shift those energies sometimes that can build up in your body. So any spiritual practice is good at this time. And so the sun is really, you know, highlighting your inner work that has been done, inner work that needs to be done, to be processing things that are perhaps holding you down. I liken it to kind of, you know, the basement, or I should say more like my spare room. You know, the basement is often full of, oh God, you just chuck stuff down there and it's messy. And then it gets so messy that, well, maybe not, maybe you have a really neat basement. I don't actually have a basement, but, you know, it's just as an analogy. And then you just, stuff goes down there and it's all dusty and you think you might have seen a rat down there. You're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that. Shut the door. That can be a little bit like the 12th house, you know, you just don't want to deal with it. It's messy, you know, but sometimes you just need to get down there with some gloves on and, you know, a torch and you know, chase the rats out, if you know what I mean. No, but you know, it's a good time for, especially because we've had Jupiter moving through our 12th house for almost 13 months. It's a great time for therapy, to really work on our inner psyche, to lighten ourselves as well. With the 12th house in Cancer, there could be a lot of family stuff in there as well. And we've got Mercury moving through here in the 12th house. Mercury is fantastic. He's moving retrograde. Mercury, especially in a water sign, retrograde in the 12th house. This is where Mercury as psychopomp really comes to his fore, the guider of souls through thresholds, across thresholds, through the unconscious, through life, death, the known, what is known, what is not known. Mercury is the only god that can move between the world of men and into the underworld as well. So this is a beautiful time to have Mercury in here as well. And Jupiter gives his final blessings to us before he moves into our first house of emotional intelligence, wisdom, nurturing, and growth. Okay. Really beautiful. For me, it's been a really beautiful time. Not necessarily easy, but very beautiful when I look back on it. And so I'll come back to, I like to finish on Jupiter moving into our first house. But okay, this one I'm a little bit, so Mercury, I've got Uranus in the 11th house, which has really been, creating a lot of communicative energy for us, particularly with our social networks. That can be friends, colleagues, neighborhood friends. It's our allies, our mentors. Could be professional colleagues as well. So with Uranus in here, there's that sense that you could be meeting some new and different people, or perhaps you're feeling a little bit rebellious and been moving towards some different people that you're meeting. And certainly it can be that sense of you're feeling like you're being able to express yourself more authentically, or you could be feeling that real sense of not wanting to be hemmed in or boxed in. So there could be that real sense of wanting to break out, rebelliousness. You could be having some breakthroughs with some really amazing ideas, especially in the 11th house of groups and friends and people. So adding Mars in there can give you some really amazing, unexpected, shocking breakthroughs. Mars can be, passion, desire. So in that sense, there could be some positivity to this in terms of ideas and meeting people. But also, I would just, I'm going to be cautious of this, just to be really careful of Mars, Uranus could be just going off in conversation or being a bit too heated or opinionated and getting into a bit of an argument. So unless that's something you kind of enjoy, just be mindful if you feel any sort of heat rising inside of you and you're feeling a bit annoyed or angry, if you can step away to avoid any sort of angry outbursts. That's what I would say. Yeah. What else? Lastly, yes, let's finish up on that Jupiter in basically the next day moves into our Leo first house. So this is amazing. Jupiter in Leo is really bringing it's gonna help us to know ourselves better, to accept ourselves better, it'll increase our confidence. If you're already a very confidently arising, which I don't think most are, but if you are lucky to be a really, really super confidently arising, then just be careful not to be arrogant or too egotistical. But I think really it's an opportunity to really come into our own, especially after some of the real deep work that we've been doing in that 12th house. So it will be a chance well, I don't think you've really got a choice, but we'll definitely be more in the spotlight. We'll be more visible. It'll be a chance to develop your leadership skills, your creativity, and just to shine and to bring some light to other people as well. With Jupiter in the first house, there'll be a sense of wanting to expand our horizons to learn new things. We will attract helpful people to us, or teachers, mentors, and just generally Jupiter brings good luck, really. So Jupiter expands, so it can expand our weight a little bit. Just be careful with the diet, not get too indulgent as well. But that's it. So there will be It'll only be for a short while. When Jupiter moves into our first, it will hit an opposition with Pluto for a little while, but that'll come a little bit later. So I'll probably make another video, or there'll be lots of videos around on that. Anyway, thanks, Leo. I look forward to seeing you next time. Hello, Virgo. Virgo, this full moon is lighting up your fifth house. That's really beautiful. So think back to the 19th of January. Did you set some new intentions about a new hobby, a new pastime, a new creative project or endeavor that you wanted to experience? It could be that you set some intentions around romance or around your children. And so now something has blossomed. And what has manifested from those seeds from that January 19th Capricorn new moon? So look to your fifth house now. Like, now things are culminating. So you'll be able to see what has grown from those seeds. So hopefully something good. It can bring some emotional truths as well. So yeah, because the fifth house is a very fortunate house. It's the house of good fortune. So hopefully something good has manifested there for you, Virgo. And across the sky, across the polar axis, you've got the sun here. The sun is in your 11th house in Cancer. So this is the house of friends, social networks, social alliances, colleagues, mentors, allies. It's the house of groups. And so there's a real focus on that at the moment here with the sun moving through your 11th house. You have got Mercury here stationed. Mercury is about to go retrograde. So you'll be retracing, reprocessing, reviewing some aspects of your friendships, your colleagues, or some sort of your part in a group. You've got Jupiter, which has really been providing you some great expansion in this area. It could be your professional colleagues, associations, your friends. So you probably feel like you've had a year of growth in that sense. Greater wisdom, you've expanded your horizons. And so you'll find that there's a bit of a push-pull here at the moment between your social networks, your professional networks, which is quite a public house, and your more private house of what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, your own pleasures and joys and creativity. The moon is in a square aspect to Saturn in your 8th house. Saturn here is bringing authority and structure and lessons through delays, sometimes, difficult lessons, developing your perseverance, your patience. And so the moon here in the 5th house is looking at Saturn in your 8th house. Your 8th house is your house of shared resources, karmic bonds, karmic entanglements. It could be your debts, it can be inheritances, it can be death, it can be transformation, taboo subjects, the occult. Quite a psychological house. It can be the house where you have anxieties as well. It can be the house of dependencies or interdependencies that you have with other people. Not necessarily all negative, but Saturn's really, I think, trying to bring you lessons about strength, perseverance, and holding your own authority in these areas. And so the moon here in the 5th house, there's some sort of tension here between what you've realized about those personal joys, those pastimes, that perhaps is not 100% consistent with those karmic intimate links in your 8th house, or perhaps those shared money matters. So that's something that you might find that you might need to take some action there. And what else? So you've got Mars and Uranus sitting here in your Gemini 10th house. So Mars and Gemini, you probably found that your professional sphere, your work, has been perhaps a little bit chaotic, a little bit erratic with Uranus here. I mean, you might have had some really brilliant ideas, insights, breakthroughs, but there could also be some sort of shock, unexpected events happening at work as well, which can be a little bit unsettling depending on the rest of your chart, whether you're you know, whether you're a fixed sign or an earth sign. But so, well, you are an earth sign, but you know where your other planets are. But so with Mars moving in here, Mars is going to conjoin your Uranus, which will be on the 4th of July. So just a bit of a warning. Look, it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It could be something that happens around you at work to somebody else at work. And it could be something, a sort of a shocking but amazing thing as well, like some event or some information that comes out. But what really came to mind here is, Mars is cutting. So it could be somebody leaving work. It could be, for whatever reason, it could be a sudden angry outburst. Okay. And with Uranus, because Uranus is rebellious, it doesn't like authority in general. It doesn't like structures that it doesn't respect or that makes it feel hemmed in. And obviously Mars can be quite explosive and confrontational. So I just wanted to just a quick shout out that around that 4th of July, unless you really don't want to be at your work, if you're planning to leave anyway, just to try and tone it down, be mindful of your own impulses and anger, because, Uranus is that kind of thing where you could just like lose your mind for a moment, So if you are feeling tension with anybody at work or there's something you're not happy with, just be mindful of how you communicate and how you're feeling inside. Yeah, just so that you can avoid any heated words or things that you might regret later. That's it. I'd be really curious to hear from Virgos actually with that in the 10th house. Let me know how you go with that. I'm genuinely interested just to hear, if something does occur, apart, in addition to hopefully nobody losing their job or other people losing their job. And then finally, you have Jupiter moving into your 12th house. So for Virgos, as a Leo rising who's just had Jupiter moving through my 12th house for just almost 13 months. And it's because of my other transits as well, but it's a real blessing. Not always easy. Sometimes Jupiter can really expand and make you want to heal and work through some things in your unconscious, in your self-undoing. So the 12th house is your house of unconscious self-undoing, limiting beliefs, sort of, sometimes patterns that undermine you that you're not even aware of. It can be sorrows, ancestral memories, childhood memory, all of those things that, generally we're sometimes not 100% aware of, and might not be much fun delving into. But if you do, this is a really great time to do that spiritual work, that inner work. Great time to see a therapist or some sort of group therapy, to get that sort of that spiritual work, that inner psyche, inner psychological work as well, to lighten you of any burdens, or to make yourself aware of anything that's holding you back. And so with Jupiter in there, Jupiter really brings growth and blessings. So yay. So that's good for you, Virgo. All right, that's all I have to say. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks, Virgo. Hi, Libra. So Libra, this full moon is happening in your 4th house of home, in Capricorn. So the full moon is a time that it shines a light. It brings to awareness sometimes emotions, truths that you weren't fully aware of before. It brings clarity to situations, and the full moon can it brings things to a culmination. So Perhaps there was something, an intention you made, or some beginnings or seeds that were laid back in to January 19th of this year. And so, yeah, this is your fourth house. It's your most private sphere. It's your house of home, parents, family. Traditionally, it was said to be father in particular, but parents in general. So something comes to light. In Capricorn, that's often got to do with material security, structural integrity, legacy, goals, all of those things, hard work. So something within that fourth house, and it's in opposition to the sun. So the sun is sitting in your 10th house, your most public sphere, your professional career house, or your house. If you're not working, it'll be your house of public actions, the house of your public reputation, social standing. And so the sun is bringing vitality and a focus to you at the moment, Libra. So you're going to be very visible at the moment. And in Cancer, it means, well, you probably have a job where you naturally enjoy helping people, to nurture people, something that protects people as well. Of course, it depends where your moon is naturally in your chart. But so there's a real focus on you professionally. Mercury is going retrograde. It's just stationing, as you can see up the top here in your chart. So this will be a time where you'll be reviewing, reassessing, reprocessing things in your work, in the realm of your work. In particular in work, that can be a little bit frustrating because it often means that you need to redo things, and there can also be communication snafus, especially in Cancer, because Cancer is a water sign. So Mercury is going retrograde through a water sign. So Mercury becomes a little less logical, and tends to be using emotion, intuition a little bit more, and being inward as well. So you might find that communication could be not as straightforward and effective as you would like it. And then you've got Jupiter here. So Jupiter in your 10th house has probably been bringing beautiful blessings and expansion and growth. And emotional nurturance. Interestingly too, this was my experience of a friend of mine, it can really also bring a lot of work on your plate. So it can expand things, but it can also expand the amount of work that you're doing. So Libra, I hope you haven't been working yourself ragged or too hard, all right? So there's an oppositional pull basically in this axis between your public sphere, your work, your career, and also your private life and your family at this time. And the moon's ruler, Saturn, is sitting in your 7th house of relationship, committed other. So whatever you're feeling here in that house of home, family, and parents, the moon is looking towards her ruler and asking him for, I guess, support and structure. It depends whether you're in a relationship or not, but Saturn moving through your house of relationship, especially in Mars's fire sign here in Aries, there is that sense, because Saturn is in his fall. Saturn is here to bring lessons in patience, perseverance, maturity. That could be, choosing a partner who has greater maturity, somebody who's going to be able to support you in the long run. It can be sometimes about, delays in relationships as well. Or if you're in a relationship, this could be just about, growth and maturing within that relationship as well. And so Venus is looking here towards that 7th house. It's in a friction. It's in a square. So there may be something that needs to shift with Moon in the overcoming position. There might be something in your relationship sphere that shifts, or that you need to shift, some action that you need to take, basically, in relation to that more private side, or your most private side of your life, part of your life being that home, family, ancestral roots, and your personal private space. And then in your 9th house, you've got Mars moving into Gemini to meet Uranus. This is really, really interesting. I mean, Gemini here in your 9th house is the house of faith, belief, religion, philosophy, higher learning, long trips, foreign countries. It's the house of God, basically. And yeah, so having Uranus in there can be some amazing spiritual connections and downloads. It can represent a rebellion to fixed, perhaps, religious structures or dogma. Perhaps the sense of wanting to make your way through that with a sort of unorthodox, original thinking in regards to faith and spirituality. With Mars here, it just adds that the fuel almost to Uranus in terms of action, in terms of impulse. It could be aggression as well. So I guess, if it could be a heated ideological argument, at university or something. Just be careful not to get too heated. Yeah, and just anytime, doesn't matter which house it's in. Anytime you have Mars, Uranus together, it can be a little bit explosive, a little bit volatile, physically, emotionally. So just take a little bit caution. Don't do anything reckless, okay? Unless you have a job being professionally reckless, like I don't know, motorcycle stunt person or something. But apart from that, try not to be reckless. Okay. Is that the last thing? Oh, one last thing. Jupiter. Jupiter is moving into your Leo 11th house, which is beautiful. So Leo 11th house is your groups, your friends, your social alliances. You've already got Venus in there bringing beauty and harmony, connection into that sphere of your friends, your allies, your colleagues, and also to your aspirations as well. And so you've got Jupiter moving in here. He'll be the next day. He's staying there for almost 13 months. It's such a beautiful, your 11th house is a house of good fortune. And actually the 11th house is the house that Jupiter rules in traditional, not rules, sorry. It's the house of Jupiter's joy in traditional astrology. So in Hellenistic traditional astrology. So really beautiful. I would expect this time to bring you not only an expansion in and probably an expansion in your social circle or in your networks, but also networks of groups of people that support you and help you grow, help you learn. There could be collaborative projects as well. It's really going to allow you to shine, Libra, to work on your leadership skills within groups, your crew. I would think that your charisma is really going to shine, or charm, being a Libra. And to really allow yourself to connect to people in a heartfelt way. And you may find that it expands your aspirations as well. Like your goals could shift as well to something grander in some sense, or something that you had never thought of before, or perhaps something you didn't even dare to dream of before. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that for you, Libra. It's going to be a beautiful time of growth, really. And I think you're really going to come into your own within that setting of your social networks and people around you. Okay. Thank you, Libra. I look forward to speaking to you next time. Hello, Scorpio. Oh, I'm not going to pause. I'm just have a quick drink of water. So, Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your third house, your Capricorn third house. So, this is the house of your mind. It's the inner workings of your mind. So, the day-to-day patterns of your thinking and your thoughts. It could be the rituals that you do, religious or not religious, spiritual or not spiritual. It couldn't be well, basically it's communication as well. And it's your local environment, your community. So it's conversation with neighbors. It's your walk to the bus station or the train station. It's your visit to the markets on the weekend. It is the yoga group that you join every Saturday morning. It is the short trips that you make down to the river to go for a walk or to visit somebody in the neighborhood. So third house, it's your local culture. Okay. And so this full moon is shining a light on that. It could be a media project or a community project you've been working on, but whatever it is, something is coming to culmination. Something that perhaps, that probably started on the 19th of January when you set the new seeds of this new moon were laid or sown, I should say. And so those seeds germinated, something grew in those approximately 6 months, and now you can see what has manifested. So it can also bring, emotional truths to your consciousness when you really see things for what they are. You have that sort of moment of clarity. So that is your third house. And that's in an opposition to the sun sitting here in your Cancer ninth house. So beautiful. This is, well, I forgot to mention as well. So the third house is called the house of the goddess. So it is the house where the moon rejoices. So it is an auspicious full moon for you as well, Scorpio. And not only that, but across the axis here, across the zodiac, across the sky is your Cancer ninth house of God. And this is the joy of the sun. So isn't that beautiful? You've got the moon and her joy in your third house. You've got the sun in his joy in the ninth house. And the ninth house is the house of God. It is the house of faith, belief, religion, philosophy, law, higher learning. It is the house of foreign travels, foreign cultures. So what a beautiful axis here. And the sun is traveling through, it's in Cancer, so there's a real sense that faith, belief, higher learning gives you a real sense of emotional connection and emotional security as well. So the sun is traveling with Mercury. Mercury is going retrograde through your Cancer ninth house. So there's a sense of retracing, rethinking what has been happening in your life lately in the last few weeks. And also once Mercury goes direct again, you'll have that sense of moving forwards again. But in the meantime, this is a time to go inwards to process and to, I guess, relax. And Mercury in a water sign like Cancer tends to communicate more with intuition and emotion as well. Or I won't turn my camera on, but my Groodle is sleeping so beautifully. I will one day get my camera and turn it around. Anyway. So yeah, and then you've got Jupiter here. Jupiter is just on the cusp of going into Leo here, and Jupiter has been in your house of God for nine for almost 11 months and almost 13 months. And again, what a beautiful space to be in. So Jupiter has been bringing expansion, and wisdom and a real desire to grow and learn within this space as well, and a lot of healing as well, with especially in Cancer. So thank you, Jupiter, and he's just about to leave the day after this full moon, and he'll move into your Leo 10th house. I'll come back to that. I just want to talk about as well, you've got this, this is your 8th house. You've got Uranus in here and you've got Mars. So Uranus and Mars are meeting in Gemini. So your 8th house is a house of shared resources, karmic entanglements. It's the house of death and debt and taxes and inheritances and transformation and very intimate relationships. It's called the house of transformation. It's quite a shadowy house in the sense that it doesn't have a direct alignment to our first house. So it's often a house where we can have trouble consciously seeing what's going on, or having that awareness around it. So with Uranus in there, it's probably been bringing up some, well, it could be some rebelliousness, a sense of wanting to break free, perhaps from some of those karmic bonds that you have with people, perhaps that you feel they're a little bit stifling and you're wanting to break free or away from it. And it could be also, having some brilliant new ideas, some epiphanies. There could have been some real unexpected events happening. And with Mars meeting here in Uranus, again, unexpected events that can be quite shocking, perhaps a little bit upsetting. Look, it could be somebody, this is other people, right? So usually when we know it's the house of death, it's metaphorical death most of the time. It's like endings, because life is a series of endings and little deaths all the time. But yeah, that's just one aspect. It could be somebody passing away, an older relative or some relative, but it could just be the ending of something in terms of shared finances or something. One thing I forgot to mention as well, just be careful with and Gemini, especially around finances, this could be cyber attacks, a cyber attack event or some sort of online swindling attack. So just be careful with that as well. It could also be some sort of breakthrough idea or some secret that's uncovered that's a little bit shocking. Okay. And then I like to finish on the Jupiter. So you've got Jupiter moving into your Leo 10th house. Wow, what a beautiful transit. So Jupiter moving into your Leo 10th house. It will be joining Venus for a little while before Venus moves on, but Jupiter will be in your Leo 10th house for 11 months, 12 months, 13 months. And it means a really fantastic time for your career, your job, your public actions, your social standing, your reputation. Jupiter brings growth, and in Leo too, I think you're going to get a chance to really grow in terms of your leadership skills, assuming if that's something you want to do. It's going to be great for your creativity, for your charisma, for your visibility. Just really good for your career. The only thing that I would say is just watch for being a little, a bit of hubris, but of being a little bit overconfident, and also watch for overwork, because I think I mentioned this earlier. Well, I did mention it earlier. I had a friend, it can actually bring too much work, where you're just taking on way too many projects. So if that starts happening, don't be afraid to sort of turn things down so you don't overwork yourself as well. But yeah, obviously great for great time for promotions as well, or asking for a raise, all that kind of thing. Anything that involves visibility, career, reputation, it's all looking very positive. Okay, thanks, Scorpio. I look forward to speaking to you at the next video. Okay, I'm just going to have a little pause. Okay. So, Sagittarius. Okay. Drink. So, Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your second house of finances, material resources, your income, your livelihood, and it's shining a light on. It could be some, hardcore realities of where you are financially at the moment. It could be some emotional truths as well. It could be the culmination of a project that you've been working on. Look back to the seeds, the initiations of the new moon in Capricorn that happened on the 19th of January. Do you remember what your intentions were back then? Did you have some new resolutions? Did you set some new goals? So yeah, so now you're able to see what has manifested in that fourth house. And across the sky, you've got this a sun sitting in your eighth house. So the eighth house is your house of karmic entanglements. It's your house of shared resources, other people's money, and it is the house of taxes, debts, inheritances, investments. It's a house of death and also transformation, really intimacy as well. It's quite a psychological house. Sometimes anxieties can be in there as well. And so you've got the sun sitting in that Cancer house, and it's together with Mercury, who's just turned retrograde, and it's going to be moving backwards through your Cancer house, retracing, reviewing, reprocessing things related to those topics. You've got Jupiter in there, who's been bringing you blessings, growth and blessings and emotional support and protection during this time. And so what you'll find is that there's a bit of a push-pull here between your second house and your eighth house. Your second house is, it's all your income, your personal, your possessions, your money, your independence. The eighth house and your self-worth, your self-esteem. The eighth house is often where we're entangled with other people's intimately in some way, emotionally. It's kind of like soul debts as well. And it can also be where you are interdependent or dependent on somebody else's finances as well. So in that sense, it's, their esteem as well. In that sense of maybe you feel that push and pull between you wanting to be more independent financially or emotionally as well. And you have that moon here looking to its ruler Capricorn, Saturn sitting in the Aries fifth house and by square. And so there's this sense of whatever comes to fruition here in your second house, whatever emotions or truths or material sort of culminations that are now evident are in an alignment of friction to Saturn sitting here in your Aries. So there could be that sense of maybe looking at your fifth house. The fifth house is your house of joy, pleasure, romance, creativity, and children. On the one hand, especially with Saturn there, you could be like thinking to yourself, right, I need to stop pissing about doing frivolous things and wasting my money and I don't know, chasing romances or, I don't know, spending my money on kind of things that give me cheap thrills That's one thought I just had. Or the other thing I was thinking, it could be that, you know, you're looking at the things that you do in your fifth house, some sort of hobby or creative project or some artistic thing that you do, and thinking to yourself, you know what? I really love this. I need to be more bold. I need to make this more serious. I want to earn an income from this. So I need to be um, to take this more seriously, to persevere more, you know, to take some chances. So I don't know, just some thoughts there about that second to fifth house. Of course, that is the house of children as well. So you might be, you know, you might be saying, don't piss about to your children, your adult, your teenage children, or yeah, you know, so just some thoughts there. You've got Uranus and Mars now joining Uranus here in your seventh house of relationships. So this is quite a bit of an electrifying transit here, Sagittarius. So Uranus in your Gemini seventh house is all about, well, seventh house is all about relationships and partnership. If you're single, then it's really about your relationship to the other, you know, your one-on-one interacting and relationships. With Uranus having moved in there, it's really kind of electrified that space. You might feel that you have a lot more sort of nervous energy. You could be trying to really change things up with your partner. If things have become stale, you might be having that feeling of wanting to do something a little bit out of the box, you know, taking up some new hobby together, just doing something a little bit different. It could also be that you are finding something within your relationship a little bit restrictive and wanting to, that sense of wanting to break free in some way. There could be some surprises, some disruptions, some unexpected events. And especially when we add Mars in here now. So Mars comes in and joins Uranus on the 4th of July. Yeah, just watch for the first thing that always comes to mind, especially in Gemini, is just like, I don't know, heated arguments, piece of information that comes up within the relationship that really, you don't know, throws a rock into the pond. On the one hand, it could be, you know, some real passion as well. I mean, Mars is desire and passion meets Uranus, you know, electricity and kind of doing things a bit differently. So yeah, anyway, let me know. But certainly I think within relationships, if this is really a great time to kind of to do something a little bit different, because Uranus can have that sense of just really wanting to break free, you know, so do something different or give each other some space if you're in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, you, especially if you have Uranus moving through your seventh house, this could be really about, you know, the next, because Uranus is going to be in there for quite a long time, even after Mars has passed. This will be about meeting somebody quite unconventional around this time as well. Okay, and then just lastly, Sagittarius, your ruler, Jupiter, which I mentioned earlier, has been going through your eighth house, is moving into your ninth house. This is really beautiful. So as a Sagittarian, you're probably a lover of adventure and distant horizons and different cultures and learning. And you're curious, you know, and so you've got Jupiter moving into here to join Venus in your Leo ninth house. So this is going to be a wonderful time to do some studies at university or college, or, you know, it could be spiritual studies, it could be religious studies, it could be going overseas, you know, on a pilgrimage, or just a beautiful trip to discover new cultures. with Venus there to meet somebody foreign or meet somebody at university. Yeah, just beautiful time for broadening your horizons over the next 13 months. Increasing your wisdom, your knowledge, all of those things. Meeting teachers, being a teacher. It could be related to law as well. Yeah, just beautiful. Anyway, lucky you, Sagittarius. So I think what a beautiful transit that you're going to have over the next 13 months. Okay, I'll end it there. I think I'm talking longer and longer. I can't tell when I'm doing these recordings until I finish and I go, oh my gosh. All right, Sagittarius, I'll speak to you next time. Okay, Capricorn. So this full moon is happening in your first house. And the first house is all about you. It's the helm of your ship. It's yourself. It's your body, your mind, your temperament, your vitality. And so this moon is a very personal full moon. It's really illuminating aspects of yourself. There could be aspects related to your physicality, your values, your plans. So look back to January 19 when the new moon happened here in Capricorn. Did you set any new intentions? Were there some new goals or desires or values that spurred you towards a new direction? So this full moon now is a manifestation of that time. And so the focus is very much about you, your emotional truths, being a Capricorn, your material security as well. And it's in opposition to the sun, which is, the moon is always in opposition to the sun during a full moon. And it's interesting because the full moon is happening in your house of partnership in Cancer. So there's a natural sort of oppositional tension here between you and your partner. And if you're not in a partnership or in a committed relationship, it could just be your one-on-one relationships or the other. And so the sun here, so there's a real focus here on partnership and your partner or the other person. And the sun is traveling with Mercury, who's now stationed and going retrograde. So it's going to be much more of a time for revising, revision, and reprocessing. You've got Jupiter here just about to leave your Cancer house, giving its final blessings for nurturing, support, and expansion and wisdom to your relationship. And so there's a tension here between your needs and the needs of your relationship or your obligations within that relationship. That could be you might come to see that you need to shift boundaries or the personal boundaries, the boundaries that you have with your partner. You might come to consider your needs versus your partner's needs. It could be also that your partner is perhaps a bit more needing a lot more emotional security at that time than you feel that you want to give. So there could be those kind of tensions happening. The moon also looks upon its ruler Saturn. Saturn is sitting here in your fourth house. So this is really interesting too because Saturn in Aries in your fourth house. Saturn is said to be in its fall in Aries because Saturn is a planet that is about structure, patience, maturity, the long-term goals and caution, whereas Uranus is impulsive and wants action now. So it's interesting that with Saturn sitting here in your fourth house in its fall, there could be some issues around parents, family, or home at this time. Perhaps some tension with authority figures could be because it's in a point of, it's in a square to your first house, your moon in your first house. So there could be some tension here with family members or parents and fathers in particular, especially with Saturn often representing father figures or fathers. And the other thing I wanted to look at was just your sixth house as well. You've got Uranus moving through your Gemini sixth house, bringing kind of it could be bringing sort of brilliant thoughts, ideas, and innovations to your daily routines, to your health, your service, and your labor. It can also bring unexpected events, bit of chaos in there as well. But Mars has just moved into your sixth house, and Mars will be conjoining Uranus on the 4th of July. And generally, I would say be careful. And I still think you need to be careful because, obviously Mars is volatility, aggression, assertion, action, cutting. And then when it meets Uranus, it can be sort of sudden events. So definitely watch out for accidents. Okay. Don't cut slippery things with a blunt knife with great force. Okay. Hold the handrail when you walk down the stairs if the light's not working. Do you know what I mean? Be careful around the shower, don't slip. All of those things. Just take extra caution. But the thing is that Mars is actually in his joy in the sixth house. So there is a potential here for really being able to get a lot of work done. Some sort of, I don't know, insights, some brilliant breakthroughs perhaps as well at work. Some really unconventional sort of work, or some really innovative breakthroughs in technology, or some new systems as well. Some new information technology if you're working within that. So there's got some really interesting significations that are possible. Some other ones to watch out for would be cyber attacks, hacking, and also with Uranus can be rebellious. You can't tell me what to do kind of energy. So just be careful around authority figures, bosses, and that. Just watch out for heated or angry words that you might not be able to take back so easily. And Jupiter, finishing off. So Jupiter here, that's actually in your seventh house. There's too many things in here, but Jupiter is about to move into your Leo eighth house. So to join Venus. So this is a really beautiful time for intimate relationships, karmic bonds, shared resources. It's the house of debts, taxes, death, inheritances, the occult, taboo subjects. So it's quite a complex house, but it's not always a negative thing. And I think especially because you've got Venus in here and you've got Jupiter moving in here. So this could be a real time where intimacies deepen, bonds are strengthened. It could be a time of healing within some of those more complex relationships. It could be very fortunate in terms of shared resources as well. That could be, for example, it could be a partner's resource, or it could also be like if you're an investment bank or, accountant or somebody that looks after other people's money, there could be a real windfall around this time. Certainly Venus and Jupiter could be receiving an inheritance as well. So there's some of the positive aspects too. The eighth house can also be the house of anxieties as well. So this could be a time for perhaps some deep psychological work to work through some of those. So all in all, Jupiter is going to bring expansion, wisdom, healing. That's really heartfelt, especially with Leo there. So allowing you to perhaps feel more comfortable within yourself as well. Okay. I think that is it, Capricorn. Wishing you all the best. I'll talk to you next time. Hello, Aquarius. Aquarius, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. Your 12th house is the house of your unconscious, it is the parts of ourselves that we're often, not really aware of, patterns of self-undoing, self-limiting thoughts. It can be ancestral karma or memories, sorrows, dreams as well. So this new full moon, is really shining a light on that aspect of yourself, and it's perhaps bringing to awareness something that is usually sort of remains in that liminal unconscious space. It could be revealed to you through dreams or sudden realizations that come to your consciousness. So that's within Capricorn, and this is in opposition. So the moon is in your 12th house and you've got the sun sitting in your 6th house. So your 6th house is the house of your daily routines, it's your health, it's the services, or service to other people, it's your labor, it's your work environment. It's really the house of kind of life admin, the things that we have to do to keep our life running smoothly, to, look after our bodies. So that includes, your timetable when you get up, when you go to sleep, doing shopping, eating the right things, all the things that keep your life running smoothly. And so it's not always the sexiest house, but it's the house that we all have and things that we all have to do. So have the sun is in here. So it's really about, working hard, being disciplined, and in Cancer as well, it has that sense of nurturing as well, because we all know that when we're looking after ourselves, we're eating well, getting enough sleep, going to yoga regularly or whatever it is that you do, that, you feel good physically. All right. So, and you've got Mercury here going retrograde. It's stationed at the moment at the time of this full moon, but it's be going backwards through your Cancer house. So there's a couple of things within this house, your 6th house of daily routines, that you need to revise, that you need to reprocess, so that when Mercury goes direct again, you can do things, make some different choices, or perhaps change tack slightly. But just to be aware, obviously the classic Mercury retrograde can be, appliances not working properly, or I don't know, missed communications or misunderstandings. And you've got Jupiter in there as well. So Jupiter is just about to leave. Jupiter is still bringing his last blessings for you in your 6th house of health and physicality. I mean, the 6th house can also be the house of injury and illness. So having had Jupiter moving through there, if you are suffering perhaps from some sort of condition, that Jupiter has been bringing some relief, some health, perhaps some treatment that has been improving your physical well-being. And also for your work as well, with Jupiter, perhaps expanding, bringing blessings to your work, your standing at work, hopefully not bringing extra work, because Jupiter can kind of increase volume as well. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to have a look at was your 5th house. You have got, just to come back. Sorry, I'm just jumping ahead to myself. Sorry, I'm getting a bit tired. But I just wanted to say too, with the full moon, that means that there is a bit of an sort of an oppositional tension here between your 12th house and your 6th house. So you may find that, there's been a bit of a focus on your material day-to-day life routine and looking after your physical health. And I guess this full moon is saying that you also need to focus on your psyche, your unconscious, those parts of your psyche that also need nurturing and attention and structure and support as well. Okay, so in your 5th house is your house of joy. the house of creativity, self-expression. It's the house of romance. It's the house of children. And so in this Gemini house, you've had Uranus going in there, and Mercury and Mars is just joining Uranus. So I don't know, when Uranus first moved into your Gemini house, you know, if you suddenly had an urge to do some unusual pastimes, like maybe you just thought, I don't know, I want to go grape picking, or I don't know, get some new strange hobby happening. Or maybe if you're an artistic type or a creative, you had some really amazing breakthroughs in terms of, oh my gosh, I'm going to build this, do this, create this. Or perhaps you just had some breakthroughs with your children, doing something really different with them. Yeah. So, and then with Mars having moved in there, Mars is really bringing the extra sort of impulse and force and assertion, sometimes aggression. Sometimes there can be accidents and cutting, just saying, not especially for you, but for everybody. So a bit of advice, there could be some amazing breakthroughs and brilliance in your in terms of ideas or epiphanies. With the Mars there, that has that real idea of kind of, it could be extreme passion and desire as well, in romance. With Uranus there, something a little bit out of the box, say no more. But also in your pastime, just take a little bit care, you know, in terms of, I'm saying that to pretty much everybody, just take care not to do anything reckless or take any extra extra sort of risks if you don't need to, you know. Yeah, I would not be taking up skydiving July 4th is all I'm saying. So yeah, anyway, just take extra caution. But ultimately, even when Mars passes past Uranus, amazing to have Uranus in there for just exploring some different things that bring you pleasure, basically, like just new and wacky pastimes or crazy ideas. Love it. There could be a sense of rebelliousness as well, wanting to break out of anything that's limiting. As an artist, that could be really freeing as well. Okay. And lastly, Jupiter. Jupiter is moving into your Leo house of relationship. So that, and he'll be joining Venus for a short while before Venus moves on. But this is happening the day after the full moon. So you're moving into 13 months of really having blessings for your house of other, your house of committed relationship. This is a real sense of expansion. If you're single, this would be a fantastic time to meet somebody, or a fantastic time to what do you call it? I can't think of the word. To get married, basically, I guess, you know, put a ring on it. It could also be a great time. You might meet somebody from a foreign country as well, with Jupiter in here. Jupiter is associated with other cultures and people from foreign places, so you could meet somebody foreign. But yeah, in Leo, you're set for some beautiful heart-centered connection there. So anyway, I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot more, but yeah, a lot of growth too, into emotional growth in terms of relationships as well. Anyway, all right, Aquarius, wishing you all the best, and I'll talk to you next time. Hello, Pisces. I have to tell you, I'm getting really tired and I'm starting to space out a bit. You're thinking, damn it, Pisces were always last. They're always really tired by the time they get there. But I'll do my best. You get it slightly spaced out here. And maybe I'll do Pisces first sometime, next time I do a video. Anyway, Pisces. I have a Pisces moon. So I have some knowledge of the Pisces energy. Quite a bit really, but Pisces, lucky last, Pisces. So this full moon is happening in your 11th house. And the 11th house is the house of good spirit. And so this is really bringing to culmination matters related to your social circle, your social networks, your friends, your alliances, and your it could be mentors as well, professional alliances, colleagues. So it's bringing something to fruition, and it's also bringing something to clarity. So perhaps some sort of emotional truth has now come to your awareness, good or bad or neutral. And so, yeah. And in opposition, you've got the sun sitting in your 5th house. And the 5th house is the house of good fortune. And this is the house of creativity, of children, of self-expression. It's a house of romance. And so there's a bit of a tension here between your more public social groups, and also it's the house of your ambition and your aspirations, and your more private time, your private creativity, your private pleasures, your romance, spending time with children or your children as well. So the 5th house can be your children. So there's a bit of a push and pull between these two parts of your life. And when we're looking at your 5th house, Mercury has stationed. He's about to go retrograde. So he'll be retracing his steps through parts of Cancer. And so this is a time to be revising aspects related to your 5th house, revising, reprocessing, so that when Mercury goes direct again, you're ready to take action or perhaps change tack in some way. And Jupiter as well. So Jupiter is here. You can see him at 29 degrees of Cancer. He's about to leave and move into Leo. But Jupiter is exalted here and bringing blessings, support, emotional nurturance as well. So with the sun here, there's a real extra vitality and energy and visibility here to your 5th house of joy. So also, when we come back to the moon here, the moon is being ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is sitting here in your 2nd house, moving through your Aries house of livelihood, of your material resources, your finance, your income. And so there's something here about the moon, something that you're feeling within your social groups, or perhaps in terms of your career goals, or just your goals, your aspirations, that is in some tension to that 2nd house. It's as if the moon is asking Saturn for greater structure, or perhaps asking Saturn not to be so stubborn and to take action, because Saturn's actually in his fall here in your Aries 2nd house, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars just likes action. Mars likes to be impulsive, to get things done, whereas Saturn is like, no, Saturn wants structure, caution. Saturn is looking at the long game, hard work, often delays, roadblocks to get that to earn the results at the end. And so the moon, there's something about here about the social networks and your aspirations that's in some sort of attention to your 2nd house. So you may need to, it's in a square basically. So you might need to make a change or a decision, or something needs to shift. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, I was going to mention that you've got this Uranus and Mars. So Uranus has been traveling through your Gemini 4th house for some time, which is your house of home, parents, and family. Uranus in here could have been causing, or not, when I say causing, Uranus doesn't physically cause anything, but it's a reflection of what's happening. But Uranus here could be signifying a time of great ideas. You know, having a Gemini fourth house probably means that you have a home where there's a lot of conversation, a lot of ideas flowing, perhaps a lot of debates. It's probably a very intellectual house. And then you add Uranus to that mix and it sort of electrifies that. So there could be a sense of a great sort of a buzz around conversations, some amazing ideas happening. But it can also be it can be an energy of rebellion or wanting to break free. So in that sense, there could be an aversion to authority or anything that's trying to box you in or limit you, or restrict your freedom in any way, or that you may feel is restricting your freedom. And so when you get Uranus or add Uranus into the mix, they'll be, because Uranus and Mars will be conjoining, or, you know, be exactly meeting up on the 4th of July. Well, it could be fiery, passionate, heated conversations around the home as well, I have to say. It could be, yeah, watch for, you know, clashes with authority, but around the home as well, you know, just take extra caution, because obviously Mars can be injury, can be injury as well, right? And so injury, Mars is cutting as well. So as I've said to a couple of other people or other signs, you know, just be extra careful. Don't do anything dumb, okay? Because Uranus and Mars can bring that sort of impulsive, reckless, thrill-seeking energy. You know, don't cut slippery fruit with a really blunt knife forcefully. don't get up on a rickety ladder without somebody to support you in a storm. Do you know what I mean? To fix something, just take extra caution. And I'm saying that to everybody, so I don't want anybody to go, you know, super worried. But you know, caution where caution is due. All right. So that's yeah. So that's around the 4th. You probably feel it pretty soon as this full moon happens, and it probably lasts for about a week or so. What else? And I was just going to mention, oh yeah, so I'm going to mention this Jupiter, but I just wanted to say, obviously this 5th house, which I mentioned earlier, that's in a beautiful alignment to your 1st house as well, Pisces. So, you know, there is a real sense of some sort of pleasurable outlet here in your 5th house. That is going to be good for you spiritually as well. All right. So enjoy that 5th house. And the last thing is that Jupiter will be moving into your 6th house. So that's happening on the day after the full moon culminates. You've got Jupiter moving into your 6th house for a 13, or just under 13-month stay. Jupiter will be meeting Venus or joining Venus in your 6th house for a while in Leo. So this really is bringing a year of blessings to your 6th house, which is a wonderful place to have it, because your 6th house is, as my teacher would say, the chop wood, carry water house. It's the house of all our obligations, our day-to-day things that we need to do to keep our lives running smoothly. It's like your life admin, getting up, you know, getting up in good time, going to bed to get enough sleep, eating the right foods, all the chores, going shopping, just looking at my air conditioner, going, I've got to clean my air conditioner out. You know, those sort of jobs you go, ooh. So, and it's the house of service and work. It's your work environment. It's also your health as well, you know, or ill health, sometimes injury. So having Jupiter moving into that 6th house is nice, especially with Venus already there, because it's going to just feel like those sort of parts of your life are going to feel more enjoyable, more meaningful. And especially for work, it could really mean that you have some expansion at work in terms of visibility, especially in Leo. perhaps some more leadership at work, and just growth really, and wisdom. So it'll be a good year for you there. If you've been suffering from some ill health, this is a good time too for improving your well-being or some alternative therapies, all of those things. Okay, all right. So that is it, Pisces. I don't think I've forgotten anything. Wishing you all the best, and I'll talk to you for the next video. And I just want to say, sorry, I'm a little bit tired by the time I get to Pisces, and also I have to finish up soon. But wishing you all the best, and yeah, I should remember to start with Pisces one time as well, right? Start with Pisces and work my way backwards. So I just wanted to say I also do write my posts. So I go into a lot more details. I would say that I get a lot more detail into my posts, and I put a lot of effort into them. So please go to my post page, which is www.lifetreeastrology.com/astral-musings, or you can just go to lifetreeastrology.com, lifetreeastrology.com/astral-musings. If you'd like a reading with me, please contact me through my website. You should please read my posts. I hope you enjoy them. As I said, I put a lot of effort into them, and I do a report, and then I have reasonably long sections for each sign as well, which is why I always run out of time just before the moon, full moon or new moon. All right. Well, I'm going to go to bed because I'm getting all scrambled, but wishing you all the best. Thanks, everybody. And I hope you have a fabulous full moon. And please give me some feedback. I really enjoy hearing how you experience that full moon as well. It's really interesting. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.